It's a really good day in the shop when you have 3 Fender Brown amps. We have this Brown Pro that was put into a Bandmaster cabinet, a little unusual. We have an Absolute Mint 1962 concert. But today we're going to service and talk about the Brown Deluxe with this beautiful 61. The Brown Deluxe was made between 61 and 63, and it's one of the best amps ever. Early ZZ Top, that's how they get that sound, so enough said. The Brown series, early 60s, was sitting between the 50s Tweed line and the mid 60s Black Panel line, and they share circuits of both. So we can see the transition, and we're going to look at that with this Brown Deluxe, the transition between the Tweed 5E3 into the Brown Deluxe into the Black Panel. And they really have tonal characteristics of both. It's really sandwiched between the timeline, this amp. And players love these, but I don't think people really know enough about Brown amps because they're scarce and they're valuable. A lot of collectors have these sitting in collections and they're not really out in the field getting used. Anyway, it'd be cool to have an amp class where we build some Brown amps. Maybe we'll do that. But the client brought this in, and he's the third owner. The first owner apparently didn't really play it very much. The second owner did, and my client brought it in. He wants it checked out. He did have it recently serviced somewhere, and the technician changed some caps. It has the original 2-prong cable on, so let's open it up together. Let's see what's going on. Let's service it. Let's hear it, and let's talk about the transition from the Tweed 5E3 Deluxe into the Brown Deluxe. And yeah, let's do a little journey. What a beautiful amplifier. The speaker dates to 60. Original 2-prong cable. Original foot switch for the trem. Let's get a test tone through it real quick and a guitar signal. So I fired it up and put that test tone through it and wiggled this because I knew these corrode, and he did say that he was getting some crackling and cutting out. He uses this. This hasn't been in storage. A technician recently went through it. Looks like they changed the power tubes and on the preamp tubes. I bet you the old tubes are probably all okay. I don't know why they didn't change the AC cable, but let's move on. All right, let's remove the chassis. I sure hope this wasn't all murdered up with goop and new cheap caps. Let's see what is going on. Okay, the big reveal here. Hey, wait a minute. Not much has been done. I always say it's better to buy an amplifier that's all original as something that's been monkeyed with. Even if your first service is a lot, it's better to get something original and something hacked up. Not much has been done to this. So the previous tech, I can see, changed the bias cap. Left the 2-prong and the depth cap in. We got a lot of yellow Astrons, which we're going to test. Have a feeling those are going to be leaky, and we're going to be changing those. The electrolytics, I'm going to suggest, obviously, that we change them. The blue molded are probably fine. Probably fine. You're going to want to check the values of some of these resistors. We'll check the filters in the doghouse in a second. And these sneaky little devils here, it's funny, no one ever changes tone caps. Any caps that are kind of over here by the pots, technicians always forget. They sneak up on you, but we're definitely going to want to check this. I don't like how it's soldered. And I don't like some of these grounds from the factory. Get out Bertha and touch all these up. Hola. Ah. All right. So, okay, Illinois caps. If you don't have anything nice, don't say anything at all. They're not very good quality. So a technician changed these three, left this original Astron in here. Yeah, we don't want an amplifier like this. There's no reason to have the cheapest components available. So I'm going to recommend that we put in good stuff here and replace this, this original. We got a power transformer here that dates to 1960. Got a output that dates to 1961, and we are going to talk about this beautiful, beautiful transformer at the end of the video. Okay, we're gonna go into our Sencor isolation transformer, probably about 117 volts AC. Hey Howard. Hey, if any of you need a good hi-fi, vintage hi-fi technician in Los Angeles, go to this guy, Howard. Been in the business since 1978. All right, real quick. I want to take some voltages for you guys. I want to see if we're getting leakage here. So coupling caps, what do? They couple. They block DC 176 on the plate side. And what do we have here? Oh, 0.05. Got some leakage. This one's even worse. I bet you if you leave that on, it will climb. Not surprised. Let's check those really quick in the Sencor. So I've lifted one of the legs and... All right, value. 0.02, yes. Leakage, we know we have it. Let's see. Now for some validation on how amazing blue molded caps are. Let's test this one. No leakage, and we are good. Damn, that's spot on. Alrighty, I got everything I need for the estimate. I will email him tonight. I do want to put it on the scope real quick. Make sure it's clipping nice. Bring it up slow. I don't know if you guys can hear, but there's the jam of jams downstairs. Yeah, it's clipping nice. Look at that. Morty the garlic's dancing. Some sweet distortion right there. Man, let's see what's going on downstairs. It's an insanely busy Saturday in the shop. Let's see what we can get done. The customer has approved everything, and we're going to get started with the filter capacitors, and we're going to change them out. I'm going to show you how I do it. And I have checked the power resistors here, and it's very important to check because this resistor here is not only cracked, but measuring about 200 ohms. So check this out. So this resistor is physically discolored, it's physically cracked. Usually they drift up, but this resistor, this 1K resistor, is measuring 183 ohms. So it definitely needs to be replaced, and we're going to replace it with this 1K here. So it's really cold in here for real. Out of the factory, these had 16, 16, 16, and 8 microfarad capacitors. We are going to replace them with 22, 22, 22, and 8. For 8s, I like the MODs. I've had good luck with them, and they're very affordable. But my mainstay for filter caps is usually F&T. I've been using them for a long time. I've never had a single issue, never had a single return. I like to put a drop of RTV to adhere it to the board so that there isn't, as time goes on, heat and cold, you get negative and positive pressure, and there is going to be bending. And you don't want the legs to break off. So you don't want to make them too tight where a leg can break off. You also don't want them loosey-goosey where it's sloppy. So let me show you how I do it. I like to pre-bend everything. you want to have the value of the capacitor up and the small stab of RTV. Well, the filter caps are in. So we're changing the oscillator capacitors right now. In this Brown Deluxe, we have a 0.02 and 2.01s. When oscillator caps go on the fritz, these old ones, they tend to drift. They tend to drift higher. They can leak. You can get intermittent tremolo. Often, maybe the tremolo will work, and then 20 minutes later, it kind of peters out. Or the inversion. Turn on the amp, no tremolo, and 30 minutes after playing it, all of a sudden you got tremolo. Often that's a sign of these oscillator caps going bad. The 5E3 Deluxe didn't have tremolo, but the Brown did. And so did the follow-up to the black panel, the AA763. The difference between the black panel and the Brown tremolo is the Brown is more similar to a Princeton reverb, where the tremolo actually affects the bias of the power tubes. So one symptom of your power tubes not being biased correctly is weak tremolo on a Brown or a Princeton reverb and some other amps. The black panel actually has what they call the Roach, the LDR octocoupler. So it actually has a neon light that the oscillator is triggering, and that neon light is then affecting a photoresistor. It's enclosed in shrink tubing, and those go bad all the time. And then they can tick and have all kinds of other issues. But your standard Fender black panel tremolo is the LDR type. The optocoupler way of getting trem, it's very easy to do and it sounds great, but there is a kind of Rube Goldberg-esque quality to it. You know, having this neon light flashing physically next to a photoresistor. Some people like to take those out. I think Derek Trucks did that with his super reverbs, kind of Derek Trucks mod, one of them. You can get more gain anytime you have a resistor, even if it's a photoresistor, you have a resistor going to ground in your audio path, you're going to shunt some signal. So you can disengage that on a switch or just remove it outright and get a little more gain out of your amp. I don't necessarily recommend that, I'm just saying. All right tool for the job. So we're gonna hit these grounds really quick. You gotta be quick and you gotta be really careful because you can really get burned. And if you're sloppy, you can cause damage to the amp. You can drop this at a knob and it would burn right up. So you gotta be really careful. Don't do that. I'll tell you guys a little secret too. I've been told, I can't confirm it, but at the Fender factory, the last 5E3 Deluxes built, they ran out of output transformers. And what they did was they put in the bigger Brown transformers. Now, bigger the transformer, a little more headroom, right? And maybe I heard that's the secret to Neil Young's sound, that maybe his favorite amp that are on all those records is one of the last production models of the 5E3 with the bigger OT. Maybe a little birdie told me that. Okay, heat quick. I like to take a screwdriver so that it doesn't pop up. Nice. I just checked all the resistors, got the amp biased. Haven't played through it yet. I want to put it through the scope real quick and see where we are wattage wise. So AC volts is being measured on the fluke and we're clipping there. That's not watts, that's volts. We can see where we're clipping, right? So we can say 13.7 times 13.7 divided by 8 is 23 watts. And we have a little more room to go, right? See it climbing? So 15.5 it maxes out at. You could do the math at home, but I'll do it for you. 15.5 times 15.5 divided by 8 ohm load. You're getting 30 watts max, clean headroom, power out 266s. Let's measure our B plus really quick. And what's B plus come from? The old battery days when you had the B battery. That's your high voltage. 420 volts. That's why we're getting a lot of wattage. If we had less B plus, we wouldn't be getting that much watts. All right, we're gonna have to be quick. Like I said, I'm gonna test it really fast for you guys. We're gonna compare it to the 5E3. This is a StewMac 5E3 kit that was built in preparation for the amp build class that I did with Colleen of Fazio Electric back in the summer. So if you wanna check that out, go to her YouTube page and she has a great video on what this was all about. And stay tuned for more classes. And I'm going to compare the sound of the two really quick, and then we're going to do a circuit analysis a little bit later, not tonight. Let's check it out. Let's do Lou Reed's Dirty Boulevard. What's that? Wait, G, D. So why does the 5E3 sound a little more gnarly and the 6G3 Brown have a little more output power and clean headroom? Well, let's go through it. First off, the power tubes here are fixed bias. The bias voltage is coming in off the tremolo circuit here. This is our bias circuit. This is our trem oscillator. And when you have fixed bias, you get a little more output power than cathode biased. So on the 5E3, we have a cathode bias, and on the Brown they switch to fixed bias, and then we also have fixed bias here on the black panel. With cathode bias, you're going to get a little more compression and a little bit more of a mid-range boost in comparison to the fixed bias of the Brown and the black panel. Also, we see negative feedback here on the Brown. There is no negative feedback on the 5E3. Negative feedback reduces distortion. Now we have a pretty high value resistor here. This is a 56K resistor for negative feedback. We have 820 ohms, not even 1K, on the black panel Deluxe being introduced into the phase inverter. And we have a different phase inverter. We have a split load or cathodiene phase inverter driving these 6V6s in the 5E3. And we have a long tail, and the long tail has a little bit more gain and a little bit cleaner also. So this is our long tail phase inverter driving these 6V6s. So I already hinted at the output transformer change. The 5E3 Deluxe had a Triad 108 transformer, and it had, I think, an 8 or 8.8K primary impedance here on the primary. When they switched to the Schumacher, the 125A1A, it's slightly bigger stack, but it has a 6.6K primary impedance, which gives you more clean headroom. So that's another reason why you have a big change in sound and output power from the 5E3 Tweed to the Brown. It's the same transformer that Fender used in the black panel too. When Fender transitioned from the Brown to the black panel, they switched how they did the tremolo. We now have our LDR roach right here. This is a photoresistor. That is a neon lamp. And we're manipulating the signal here as opposed to the bias of the power tubes. So that's one of the major changes. Also, the black panel has different tone controls. It has its own treble and bass, as opposed to the one knob. And one knob tone controls give you a little more gain and grit also, so keep that in mind. And, well, I guess that's about it. It is Christmas Day. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you guys again in 2025. Later.